This item contains 3 rain summoning spells. Keep it for self-defense. Qing Shui turned and walked into the void, gradually fading into the distance. At the moment he disappeared, a deep sense of melancholy filled his eyes as he muttered to himself. This person is stronger than my master. But there's something about him that feels so familiar. I must have met him before. Wong Lin watched Qing Shui's figure disappear, remaining silent for a long time. He then gave a slight bow in that direction, grabbed the water crystal ice, and with a flicker of his body, vanished without a trace. That person must be a third-step cultivator. In the Luotian star domain, to think such a cultivator exists. Wong Lin's figure merged into the world as he headed towards the Li Yuan family. I wonder if there are third-step cultivators in the Alliance star domain. This person is so powerful that even a shattered nirvana cultivator would have no power to resist him. Wong Lin's figure stepped forward in the starry sky, his eyes gleaming with sharp light. However, I saw the direction of the third step through the heavenly reversal pearl. One day, I will reach it. Wong Lin's eyes sparkled with even more determination. He stepped forward again, merging with the world and shrinking his body to the size of an inch, disappearing from sight. In the southern region of Luotian, in a remote star domain, there was a cultivation star named Destruction. Long ago, this star was not only famous in the southern Luotian region, but also throughout the entire Luotian star domain. It was the inheritance of an ancient forbidden family, the Leaf family. They possessed the Destruction seal, and their family's power was immense, once making them famous throughout Luotian. However, after countless years, the Li family's decline and the spread of the Destruction seal gradually caused them to fall from their peak position. Today, the Li family's glory has almost vanished, existing only in memory, though covered by dust and no longer shining. With the gradual decline of the Li family, even those memories became blurry, as if they no longer existed. Destruction Star had become desolate, with no cultivators coming here. If not for the powerful defensive arrays left by the Li family over the years, even Destruction Star would have been lost. On Destruction Star, in the ancestral home of the Li family, Li Yuan sat with a look of desolation, staring blankly ahead. The scenes from the Thunder Immortal realm flashed in his mind, and he was extremely grateful to Su Mu, especially for how Su Mu had sent him away while staying behind himself. Brother Su, the pursuit by the Yao family was not that I, Li Yuan, didn't help, but rather I was powerless. Li Yuan's face showed bitterness. He wanted to help, but with his cultivation, he would only be a burden in the face of the Yao family. With a long sigh, Li Yuan stood up, walked out of his room, and looked at the sky. The scenes from the Thunder Immortal realm flashed in his mind once more. Brother Su, if you can come, I will give you the Destruction Heart Seal without hesitation. Li Yuan muttered to himself. Suddenly, his expression changed as he stared at the sky, and after a moment, his eyes lit up with excitement. In the air, a ripple suddenly appeared, echoing around, as though the sky had transformed into a pool of spring water, with the ripples spreading out in waves. Within the ripple, Wong Lin's figure stepped out. He was floating in midair and immediately saw Li Yuan on the ground in the distance. He smiled slightly and walked forward. In the ancestral hall of the Li family, within a black water pool, Wong Lin and Li Yuan sat cross-legged. The water in the pool was piercingly cold and slowly formed a whirlpool. However, this whirlpool was weak, swirling around them and creating ripples. Li Yuan kept his eyes tightly shut, a ball of black light swirling in his forehead. Gradually, it spread out, turning into black lines that sank into the pool water. As soon as these black lines touched the water, it was as if a dragon had entered the sea, immediately causing violent waves to stir, with even larger ripples forming. Wong Lin sat cross-legged opposite Li Yuan. They had been meditating here for 3 days. 3 days ago, Wong Lin arrived on Destruction Star and, after catching up with Li Yuan, followed his invitation to this place to pass on the Destruction Heart Seal technique. This Destruction Seal could only be fully utilized if one possessed the Heart Seal, but the inheritance of the Heart Seal could only occur in the Li family's ancestral hall. It could not be passed on anywhere else. As the black lines from Li Yuan's forehead sank into the pool water and churned, they began to dissipate, seemingly merging with the water. At the same time, the black water around Wong Lin's body began to climb upwards, eventually solidifying at his forehead. As time passed, the weariness on Li Yuan's face gradually became more evident. In their family, the inheritance of the heart seal was often carried out just before an elder's passing, when they would impart it to a designated family member. Now, in order to repay the favor, Li Yuan unhesitatingly divided half of the heart seal inheritance and gave it to Wong Lin. On the 5th day, Li Yuan appeared much older, as if these 5 days had been equivalent to 50 years for him. The black light on his forehead had dimmed, and most of it had turned into black lines, merging into the pool water. Within the pool, the vortex grew even more violent. As it continued to spin, it gradually transformed into something resembling a storm. Dragging his exhausted body, Li Yuan stepped out of the water, sat down cross-legged, and gazed at Wong Lin within the pool. He murmured to himself, "Brother Su, I've repaid your kindness." He closed his bloodshot eyes, his entire being radiating a deep fatigue as he entered meditation to regulate his breath and energy. For the sake of repaying this debt, he had sacrificed greatly. Giving away the core of the heart seal had caused a significant drop in his cultivation and restriction arts. Wong Lin remained seated within the water, cross-legged. The vortex in the pool became increasingly intense, and by the 6th day, the swirling storm had caused the entire pool to rise. As it surged upward, it engulfed Wong Lin completely. Cold energy spread in all directions, forming patches of frost around him, and in some areas, the water had already frozen over. Amid the endlessly spinning black water, streaks of black lines fused into Wong Lin's brow, forming intricate patterns that imprinted themselves layer by layer at an astonishing speed. At that moment, Wong Lin seemed to enter an extraordinarily unique state. Everything related to the annihilation seal surged into his mind, aligning with his previously learned restriction techniques, verifying, comparing, and eventually merging with them. The profound mysteries of restriction arrays became increasingly clear and deeply etched into his consciousness as the black lines continued to imprint themselves. On the 9th day, Wong Lin suddenly opened his eyes. Instantly, the black vortex around him exploded with a thunderous roar, shooting outward in every direction. At the same time, a burst of intense cold energy erupted. A strange light flickered in Wong Lin's eyes, and within that glow, countless restriction patterns shimmered. At that moment, his gaze seemed capable of seeing through every restriction in heaven and earth. He raised his right hand and pointed forward. At once, all the scattered black water trembled, then surged toward his palm, rapidly merging into a black sphere. Black light gleamed from the sphere, emitting a chilling and eerie aura that cast an ominous shadow over the entire ancestral hall. Staring at the black sphere, Wong Lin closed his eyes. Moments later, he suddenly opened them, patted his storage pouch, and a large amount of soil flew out. This soil had all been collected in the Thunder Immortal realm under Li Yuan's guidance. As the soil emerged, Wong Lin waved his left hand, and it all fused into the black sphere. Gradually, the sphere solidified rapidly. Just then, Wong Lin spat out a stream of essence spirit energy, striking the sphere. At once, the black light intensified, but under Wong Lin's gaze, it began to shrink and reshape, eventually forming an octagonal compass. Every inheritor of the Annihilation Heart Seal must possess their own Heart Seal compass. Congratulations, Brother Su. Nearby, Li Yuan opened his weary eyes, a genuine smile lighting his face with unmistakable sincerity. The compass in Wong Lin's hand merged into his palm, spread to his brow, and with a flash, vanished without a trace. Wong Lin stepped forward to Li Yuan, clasped his fists, and said, "Brotherly, thank you." Li Yuan smiled and shook his head. "There's no need for that, Brother Su. You've done a great service for the Li clan. This was the least I could do. What are your plans now?" Wong Lin's eyes turned contemplative. When he had arrived on Destruction Star some days ago to reunite with Li Yuan, he had learned much from him, including the fact that he was now being called the Demon Path Scion. He recalled Li Yuan mentioning the Immortal Emperor by Fan's Thunder Immortal Palace was holding a competition among the 108 Immortals, with the 4 great star domains serving as the battleground. At that moment, Wong Lin's heart made a decision. It wasn't only for the 2 immortal arts that Qin Shui had spoken of, the true reason lay in the promise made by the Xiong family of Donglin Star. Anyone who made it into the 36 heavenly immortals would receive a promise, 1 from the Thunder Immortal Palace and 2 from ancient cultivation clans. A flash of determination lit Wong Lin's eyes as he asked, "Brotherly, would you be interested in vying for a spot among the 108 immortals?" Li Yuan fell silent. After a long pause, he gave a bitter smile. "With my current cultivation, I would be of no use there. I plan to enter seclusion and focus on my breakthrough, to reach deficiency. His voice carried a note of firm resolve. For the sake of his clan's rise, he had made a decision. No matter the cost, he would strive to ascend. Wong Lin nodded and said calmly, with your talent, brotherly, it's only a matter of time before you break through. After a brief pause, he patted his storage pouch. A jade slip appeared in his hand, and with focused intent, he engraved within it the ancient Thunder origin art. Brotherly, this jade slip contains a cultivation method. With careful training, your chances of breakthrough should greatly increase. Li Yuan accepted the jade slip and examined it closely. Emotion stirred in his eyes. Though the Li clan claimed ancient heritage, much of their knowledge had been lost over time. Aside from the Annihilation Heart Seal, they were hardly better than a common cultivation clan. To him, a technique from the Thunder Immortal Palace, even if not the most precious, was exceedingly rare. He gave a firm nod and said solemnly, Brother Su, between us there's no need for thanks. If one day I do manage to break through, I'll come find you. The two of us, roaming the stars like in the Thunder Immortal realm, that would be a joy indeed. Wong Lin smiled and said, Brotherly, farewell. As he spoke, he took a step forward, and with a ripple beneath his feet, his entire figure merged into the wave and vanished. The Immortal Ascension event this time marked a groundbreaking moment since the collapse of the Immortal Realm in the Luotian region. Adding to its significance was the transmission of teachings from the Immortal Monarch Qi Shui, along with promises from two ancient cultivation families, and the mysterious ancient family that offered the qualification for the Ascension pool. All of this undoubtedly pushed the Immortal Ascension contest to its peak. Before the assault on the Alliance Star Domain, this event stirred the battle intent across the entire Luotian Star Domain to its highest point. Countless cultivation families from the four regions east, west, south, and north of the Luotian Star Domain had gathered at designated sites, with emissaries from the Thunder Immortal Palace witnessing the event. They selected 108 participants, who would go to the Thunder Immortal Palace for the final title battle. In the southern Luotian domain, on Dian Star, one of the three main stars, the vast expanse of the starry sky was now illuminated by a brilliant light that covered a 1,000-mile radius. 1,000 miles away, the area was filled with countless cultivators, forming the battlefield for the title contest of the southern Luotian domain. 1,000 miles out, square stones of green rock floated, with people or groups of people meditating on each stone. These green stones were numerous and scattered in all directions. These stones were prepared for those who had come to witness the Immortal Ascension contest, with tens of thousands of cultivators spread out around this vast area. The majority of these cultivators were at the first step of cultivation. Apart from accompanying their families' title contenders, they came with the aim of broadening their horizons and witnessing the divine arts of immortals. Among the countless green stones, there were also many crimson stones, each occupied by cultivators whose eyes gleamed with intense battle intent. These were the individuals who had earned the qualification to fight for the title in the southern Luotian domain. The crimson stones numbered about 300 or 400, and the 108 chosen participants who would go to the Thunder Immortal Palace for the final battle were selected from among them. At that moment, within the battlefield 1,000 miles away, two cultivators were locked in fierce combat. Their various divine techniques filled the air, and the clash was evenly matched. The sounds of their strikes echoed, and the spectators around them focused intently, especially those who would soon be participating. Of course, some cultivators merely glanced at the fight and then turned away, evidently uninterested as the battle was not challenging enough to capture their attention. One of these cultivators was Zhang Konglai. The Zhan family was a major clan, and Zhang Konglai was the most outstanding among the younger generation. In this southern domain title battle, his family expected him to place in the top 10. Top 10. Unless something unexpected happens, it should be in the bag. Zhang Konglai's gaze swept across the distance and landed on one of the crimson stones. Sitting cross-legged atop it was Shin Gonghu, eyes closed in meditation. At that moment, as if sensing something, Shin Gonghu opened his eyes and looked toward Zhang Konglai. The two exchanged a smile before looking away. As Shin Gonghu turned his gaze back to the distant void, his expression darkened slightly. He recalled how the Supreme Lord had been hunted by the Yao family. He had wanted to help, but his family's ancestor had stopped him from doing so. Though unwilling, Shin Gonghu had ultimately yielded. But deep inside, he scoffed, thinking that the Yao family was courting death by provoking the Supreme Lord. What happened next was beyond Shin Gonghu's expectations. However, under the Yao family's relentless pursuit, the Supreme Lord counterattacked again and again, killing many cultivators and gaining the title of Demon Path Scion. In the end, a monumental battle in the northern Luo Heaven region made Su Mu's name ring out across the realm. Despite the fame Su Mu had gained, it did not align with Shen Gonghu's impression of him. He remained silent for a long time, reflecting on past events, his heart filled with bitterness. With his wisdom, Shen Gonghu now began to suspect something. I fear Su Mu is not as powerful as I imagined. His cultivation might even be weaker than mine. Even if he improves, he's likely stuck at the peak Yang fulfillment, just like me. Sigh, Shen Gonghu's heart was heavy as he withdrew his gaze from the void. Zhang Konglai, too, found himself in a similar mental state. His thoughts mirrored Shen Gonghu's. As he watched the scene of the Supreme Lord being pursued by the Yao family, he gradually had an epiphany, followed by complex feelings of bitterness. Su Mu. Sigh. I never imagined that I, Zhang Konglai, would be deceived. His cultivation isn't something I couldn't see through, it's just as I originally thought. He must have had some fortuitous encounter in the Thunder Immortal realm, which allowed him to reach peak Yang fulfillment, not that I was wrong about him hiding his cultivation. Even now, his cultivation must still be at peak Yang fulfillment. I just misjudged him. Zhang Konglai sighed inwardly, disappointment welling up in his heart. Behind Zhang Konglai, on a green stone, sat Zhan Yun, her gaze on him. Seeing him furrow his brow, her heart softened with a sigh. She understood clearly, her cousin was thinking about the past events involving their seniors. In recent days, the name of the senior has become widely renowned across Luo Tian, and every time she recalls the scenes from the Thunder Immortal realm, her heart is deeply shaken. The power of that impact was so intense that, had the senior not led the way, she would likely have perished by now. At this moment, in the distance, there was a crimson stone. Tang Yanfeng was sitting cross-legged upon it, his gaze dark and somber. Seeing this scene, he snorted coldly, remaining silent. Zhang Konglai, Shen Gonghu, and Tang Yanfeng, these three were renowned throughout the southern Luo Heaven region and were collectively known as the three heroes of the southern region. The surrounding onlookers included not only members of various cultivation clans but also a few decision-makers responsible for the title contest. Among them were three emissaries from the Thunder Immortal Palace. Of the three, two wore green robes, their expressions cold, with lightning flickering in their eyes. The third, with a face marked by the passage of time, wore a purple robe and kept his eyes shut, seemingly indifferent to everything around him. The two green-robed emissaries from the Thunder Immortal Palace held this elder in great respect, as did the surrounding clan ancestors from the southern Luo Heaven region. Apart from these three, many other ancestors from various Luo Tian clans had arrived. The stones they sat upon were white. There were only a few white stones, less than a dozen, but each person seated upon them had a mighty reputation. However, the ancestors of the Xingong family and Zhan families like Yunzi were not present. As the duel within the 1,000-mile light screen gradually came to an end, under the dazzling bursts of spiritual light, the onlookers from the participating cultivation families stared in awe. A moment later, one of the combatants trembled, his face turning pale under the influence of his divine abilities. Blood dripped from the corner of his mouth as he quickly retreated. Seeing his opponent closing in, he sighed inwardly, stepping back and declaring, "I concede." A long laugh came from the pursuer's mouth. The man turned his body, giving up on the chase. Within the light screen, a figure flickered and appeared, a man dressed in a green robe, one of the Thunder Immortal Palace emissaries. As he materialized, lightning crackled, as if thunder roared around him. With a sweeping gaze, he calmly declared, "Li Yi wins." At the same time, several 100,000 miles away from the battle, Wong Lin's figure emerged from the void between heaven and earth. His gaze was cold as he looked off into the distance. Li Yuan once said that the title contest of the southern Luo Heaven region was to be held at Dian Star. Every participant must possess the qualification token granted by the southern Luo Heaven region. Without the token, one cannot enter the contest, and once it begins, the surrounding 10,000 miles will be sealed off. If one arrives too late, entry is prohibited. Wong Lin snorted coldly and stepped forward. As his feet touched the ground, ripples spread beneath him, and with 2 steps, his figure vanished once more. 1,000 miles from Dian Star, every 1,000 miles was occupied by a seated cultivator. These cultivators formed a vast ring surrounding the star, creating a blockade to prevent outsiders from entering. Spiritual power radiated from their bodies, connecting and intertwining to form a tight network. Any disturbance in one location would immediately be sensed by all. At this moment, Meng Lin sat cross-legged in the starry sky, his expression showing displeasure. As a member of the Ming clan on Dian Star, he had originally hoped to witness the various immortal arts during the title contest. However, his family had assigned him to guard this place, which left him feeling angry and frustrated. Recalling the smug expressions of several peers back home upon hearing that he had been sent to guard this location, Wong Lin's frustration only deepened. Even though he tried to calm his mind and meditate, he found it impossible to focus. This immortal title contest, especially the three heroes of the southern region and their divine abilities, if I could witness their skills, it would surely benefit me greatly, Wong Lin sighed inwardly. His cultivation was only at the late infant metamorphosis stage, and he had been stuck for a long time, unable to break through. In the midst of his sighing, his pupils suddenly contracted, his gaze fixed ahead. At 100 paces in front of him, ripples suddenly appeared in the void. As they reverberated, a figure emerged from within. The man was dressed in white, his black hair flowing without wind, and his eyes gleamed with an indescribable brilliance. The moment Wong Lin's eyes met his, a deafening roar rang in his mind, like countless thunderclaps exploding in his ears. His essence spirit nearly collapsed, and his spiritual power immediately scattered, as if it would leave his body. In that instant, he lost all awareness. Wong Lin's figure flickered as he passed by Wong Lin. It wasn't until Wong Lin had moved far away that Wong Lin snapped back to reality. He looked around in confusion, but saw nothing. How strange. Why did I feel so dazed just now? Wong Lin scratched his head, unable to figure it out. With a sigh, he began to meditate again. Oddly enough, this time, his meditation was more successful than ever before. In just a short while, he fell into a deep state of cultivation. Step by step, his mindset became calmer, his eyes growing frighteningly cold. There was also an overwhelming battle intent that, with each passing step, grew stronger, sharper, and more focused on the path ahead. As Wong Lin continued forward, the battle intent surged within him, rapidly escalating, until it seemed as though a storm had formed behind him. This storm was so intense, it carried with it Wong Lin's immense battle intent, swelling like a tempest. I want the 108 immortals, but not the 72 earth fiends. I want the 36 celestial generals. Wong Lin's eyes flashed with a cold glint. He had to win. He had to be victorious. To claim the true title of 108 immortals, this was the first step. Only by successfully obtaining the qualification within the southern Luotian region could he ascend to the peak. The storm of battle intent swirled behind Wong Lin, as his entire being seemed to merge with the very heavens and earth. In this storm, the black and white yin-yang fishes spun rapidly, releasing ripples that spread across tens of thousands of miles, growing ever wider. The battle intent emanating from Wong Lin's heart contained the killing aura of heaven and earth, as his black hair billowed around him, making him look like a demon immortal in that moment. His white robes were not snow white, but the color of bone. This battle, Wong Lin not only needed to win, but he needed to win decisively. Only in this way could he truly make a name for himself in Luotian. Only then could he stand before the Xiang family with enough power to make them take him seriously. Wong Lin's battle intent was so intense it reached its peak, yet within that intensity, there lingered a trace of sorrow. That sorrow came from Xun'er. He would never forget the moment when the last tear fell from Li Muan's eyes, the illusion that the whole world collapsed before him, the feeling of desolation and loneliness as the entire starry sky seemed to fade away in his ears. He could never forget that when seeking to ascend, he had been willing to battle against heaven itself, defying the odds for his love. Having arrived in the Luotian star region and fought countless battles, all of this had been for one purpose, to revive Xun'er. The words of the Xiang family woman sealed within the painting scroll, echoing in Wong Lin's mind like the roar of thunder, were the very reason he had come to the Luotian star region. He could not afford to lose. And the promise made to Qin Shui also made it impossible for Wong Lin to fail. Carrying this extreme conviction and with battle intent fueling his every step, Wong Lin's primordial energy surged uncontrollably within him. The storm of battle intent behind him expanded further, the yin-yang fishes spinning even faster. The strength of this battle intent spread wildly, and in an instant, it swept across the surrounding flame star for tens of thousands of miles. As Wong Lin pressed forward, his speed accelerated, surpassing that of thunder, meteors, or even a rainbow. His pace was several times faster. At this speed, Wong Lin plunged directly into the flame star, 30,000 miles within its reach. In that moment, the two cultivators fighting on the outer edge of the flame star's protective light screen immediately turned pale. Fear filled their eyes as they stopped fighting, stunned by the source of the intense aura that made their hearts tremble. At this very moment, it wasn't just the two of them. Everyone within 1,000 miles was affected. Nearly everyone's expression changed as they turned to look toward the distant source. Among the Thunder Immortal Palace emissaries, the two men in green robes also changed their expressions. Their hearts raced, and their blood seemed to freeze, with only their primordial energy moving at an alarming pace to counteract it, as if it was the only way to resist. Nearby, several elders from different cultivation families opened their eyes from meditation and stared at the distant source, visibly moved. Their eyes flashed with sharp light, filled with astonishment. Such powerful battle intent! If they were shocked, imagine how others felt. All the cultivators sitting on the green stone, from various families, were in awe. They gazed at the distance, their spiritual energy churning wildly, almost out of their control. Under the immense, almost unbelievable battle intent, if they didn't act, they would immediately suffer mental damage. The battle intent was too overwhelming, too strong, and too domineering. Battle. An endless battle intent seemed to manifest into a word, echoing like a sonic boom throughout the ears of all the cultivators within 10,000 miles. This word was silent, but at that moment, it resonated deep within their souls. Some cultivators with lower cultivation immediately spat blood, injured by the overwhelming force. They were defeated by this battle intent, their hearts overwhelmed by an irresistible impulse to submit. Xun'er's eyes bulged as he suddenly stood up. A force from his soul, impossible to resist, slammed into him like a tidal wave. In his mind, it felt as though an ancient beast from the distant void was slowly approaching. The overwhelming battle intent stirred his blood, causing him to feel as if he was suffocating, as if he needed to release the breath held within his chest, or else he would be harmed. This is not the key point. The crucial part lies in the fact that within this battle intent, there is a presence that Xun'er is extremely familiar with. The bitterness in his heart intertwines with this suffocating aura, creating a complex emotion that spreads throughout his body. Master! Master! Xun'er trembled. He had thought he was already hopeless, that he had lost faith in his master, that he had been deceived, like a fool. But at this moment, a surge of power emerged in his heart. This power made him excited once again, but this excitement carried with it a hint of unwillingness. Roar! Xun'er roared, transforming into a massive aura that enveloped his entire body. As this aura circled, it absorbed the complex emotions in Xun'er's heart, ultimately turning into a battle intent that surged like a tidal wave, resembling a giant dragon, roaring towards the distance. It wasn't just him. At this moment, Zhang Konglai also stood up, staring ahead. Unlike Xun'er, who could sense Su Mu's arrival, he could only find a trace of familiarity within this battle intent. With his heart filled with speculation, under the pressure of this battle intent, as a member of the Zhan family, he felt a defiant force rise within him. After Xun'er's roar, he felt like a sword unsheathed, bursting with an overwhelming battle intent. This battle intent also turned into a giant dragon, but it was a sword chi dragon, rushing out from his body. Tang Yanfeng slowly stood up. A thick killing intent exploded from his body. He moved like lightning, stepping forward with a single stride, heading straight toward the place where the battle intent was coming from. His cold eyes and terrifying killing intent shook the heavens. This killing intent fused with the battle intent, forming a storm that swept forward, merging with Xun'er and Zhang Konglia's battle intents, madly clashing ahead. Under this pressure, it wasn't just the three of them who had their battle intent awakened. Almost immediately, dozens of battle intents surged into the sky, carrying an unyielding will, like thunder, rumbling across the surroundings. This scene stunned all the cultivators nearby. Only the elder from the Thunder Immortal Palace, dressed in purple, remained calm, his expression unchanged, eyes closed without any sign of alteration. As the storm formed by the battle intents pressed forward, it immediately collided with Wong Lin. With a deafening boom, it was as though the entire starry sky, tens of thousands of miles away, was trembling. Wong Lin, in his white clothes, walked step by step from the distance. With his arrival, the battle intents ahead of him seemed almost tangible, gradually suppressed by Wong Lin's cold gaze, his killing intent, and the overwhelming battle fire in his heart, relentlessly pressing down without mercy. A low growl echoed as Tang Yanfeng charged forward, his red longsword emitting astonishing sword chi. As he circulated his primordial energy, divine abilities manifested around him, transforming into blood-red lotuses that surrounded him and charged toward Wong Lin. Behind him, other cultivators, unable to withstand the pressure of the battle intent, sprang forward, rushing toward Wong Lin. Wong Lin's eyes flashed with cold light. With a single step, his right hand rose, and primordial energy surged violently from within him, forming a collapsing storm. With a booming sound, it spread out, and his cultivation at the early glimpse of Nirvana stage erupted in full force, sweeping through the heavens and earth. As his primordial energy spread wildly, Tang Yanfeng's eyes revealed a trace of horror. He never expected that the person before him had broken through the Yang fulfillment stage and reached the glimpse of Nirvana. At the moment of his shock, Wong Lin took a step forward and executed the Luo technique, which flashed and struck Tang Yanfeng's red longsword. The sword shattered with a loud crash, its fragments rolling backward. At the instant Tang Yanfeng let out a muffled cry, Wong Lin appeared before him. With 2 fingers in the shape of a sword, he pierced through all of Tang Yanfeng's divine abilities, causing the blood-red lotuses around him to shatter in an instant. With a rumble, Wong Lin's right hand, with no pause, pressed against Tang Yanfeng's chest. With a booming sound, Tang Yanfeng spat out a mouthful of blood and was sent flying backward. The booming sound echoed inside him, and countless lightning bolts surged as his essence spirit was severely wounded, casting him far away. This all happened in the blink of an eye, too fast to believe. For Wong Lin, with his glimpse of Nirvana cultivation, to defeat someone at the peak of Yang fulfillment was nothing. Had he wished to kill, a single strike would have been enough to end Tang Yanfeng's life. As he withdrew his hand, his third eye at his forehead opened, flashing with a red light. As Wong Lin turned, a red glow spread, causing the cultivators who had followed Tang Yanfeng to arrive to change their expressions drastically. All their divine abilities turned to their origins, each spitting blood as if severely injured, and they were sent flying back. This Luo Tian Southern Region's 108 qualifications, Sumu wants to be first. Wong Lin's gaze was cold as he spoke slowly. Sumu. The surrounding cultivators immediately exclaimed. The demon path scion, Sumu. It's him. I've seen him with my own eyes. This person was hunted down by the Yao family, but in the end, he caused their defeat and returned. The Sky Vault decree still intact, the first person. It's said that the Yao family suffered greatly this time, with many of their clan members slain by this demon path scion, Sumu. Not only that, but many cultivation clans who participated in the battle against the Yao family still feel uneasy. As long as Sumu is alive, they will always worry about retaliation. Voices of discussion erupted after a brief silence. Sumu's name was simply too well known. In the entire Luotian star domain, there were few who hadn't heard of him. Shingonhu stared blankly at Wong Lin, a complex storm of emotions welling up inside him. But at that very moment, he was utterly shocked to sense that Wong Lin had reached the early glimpse of Nirvana stage. The shock surged from deep within, spreading through his whole being. He could no longer tell if the man before him truly matched the image in his mind. Zhang Konglai was equally stunned. That familiar feeling hidden in the battle will, he never imagined it would be Wong Lin. Even more disorienting was Wong Lin's current cultivation. The first time I saw him, he was at the late inquiry stage. The second, he'd already reached the Yang fulfillment realm. And now, the third time, he's entered early glimpse of Nirvana. Has he really not been hiding his cultivation? Zhang Konglai was utterly confused. Senior. Beside Zhang Konglai, Zhangyun rose to her feet in delight and quickly flew over. A few dozen feet away from Wong Lin, she cupped her fist respectfully, her expression deeply reverent. And she wasn't alone. All across the vast lands of Dian Star, others, those Wong Lin had once brought out of the Thunder Immortal realm, were flying over as well, visibly moved. One by one, they bowed in respect. Seeing them, Wong Lin gave a faint nod. Just then, a low, cold voice echoed from afar, drifting slowly over from a patch of white stone. Sitting cross-legged upon it was an elder, and beside him lay the unconscious Tang Yanfeng. What right do you have to claim first among the 108 of the Southern Luo Heaven domain? You never qualified to compete. Acting this way is to disregard every cultivator of our southern domain. The elder's gaze was fixed on Wong Lin, eyes filled with killing intent. In his view, though Sumu hadn't killed Tang Yanfeng, the heavy injuries left behind would cause his cultivation to regress severely, even if he recovered physically. The Immortal Ascension contest now held no hope for him. Wong Lin's expression remained cold as he looked toward the elder from a distance. At that moment, a cultivator 100 feet away stepped forward. He was one of those Wong Lin had saved back in the Thunder Immortal realm. After a moment's hesitation, he gritted his teeth and looked at the Tang clan elder, declaring in a firm voice, "The Qin clan of the Southern Luo Heaven domain recommends Senior Sumu for qualification to compete. I ask, does the Qin clan have that right?" The elder's eyes flickered. He didn't respond to the man, instead looking toward one of the Qin clan ancestors who had just arrived. Then another cultivator stepped forward. This one was slightly older. Facing the Tang elder, he said gravely, "The Zhao clan of the southern Luo Heaven Domain also recommends Senior Sumu." I ask, "Does our Zhao clan have that right in your eyes, Elder Tang?" "The Li clan of the southern Luo Heaven Domain recommends Senior Sumu." "Do we have the right?" A middle-aged man in deep blue robes took a step forward, facing Elder Tang. "The Zheng clan also recommends Senior Sumu." "Does our Zheng clan have the right?" Following the man, a colorfully dressed woman stepped forward. Her voice was soft, yet it carried undeniable resolve. "I am of the direct line of the Miao clan. We too recommend Senior Sumu." "Elder Tang, as one of the main star clans, does the Miao clan have the right?" A cold-faced young man in black robes stepped forth, like a shadow emerging from the darkness. These four had all been saved by Wong Lin in the Thunder Immortal realm. Ever since then, they had remained deeply grateful. Yet, pursued by the Yo family, their clans had barred them from aiding him. That guilt had weighed on them, but now they stepped forward unhesitatingly, willing to stand by Wong Lin no matter the cost. This scene made the Tang elder's expression shift. Even the Qin clan's ancestor looked stunned for a moment, then gave a bitter smile and closed his eyes. Not just him, the leaders of the other cultivation clans supporting Wong Lin all closed their eyes as well, choosing to remain silent. But should anyone challenge their clan's right, they would not sit idle. The main clan of Dian Star recommends Senior Sumu. "Do we, the main clan, have the right?" Another cultivator stepped forward without hesitation, his gaze unwavering on the Tang elder. "The Bailey clan of Leiyan Star recommends Senior Sumu. The Sikong clan of Shuiming Star recommends Senior Sumu. The Zhou clan of Dian Star recommends Senior Sumu. The Ning clan of Tianlan Star also recommends Senior Sumu. As one of the main star clans, does our Ning clan have the right?" One after another, cultivators stepped forward, standing beside Wong Lin. Each and every one of them had followed him out of the Thunder Immortal realm, surviving under his leadership. Scene after scene unfolded, stunning Elder Tang. His heart trembled, his eyes flickering sharply as he looked at these juniors standing beside Wong Lin. Even with his cultivation, he found himself falling into silence. The younger generation is not a big deal, but the fact that none of their elders from their families refuted them, instead choosing to remain silent with their eyes closed, made the elderly man of the Tang family feel a shock in his heart for the first time. Looking at Sumu, his surprise was evident. Sumu's cultivation had also reached the glimpse of nirvana stage, but just like Wong Lin, it was at the early stage of glimpse of nirvana. However, it was clear that Sumu had entered this stage much earlier and had already reached the peak of the early stage. Within the Luotian star domain, in ordinary cultivation families, those who reached the Yin-Yang Void realm could be considered as ancestors of the family. Unless there was a special opportunity, it was impossible for someone to reach glimpse of nirvana. Only cultivation families above the main star could possess glimpse of nirvana cultivators, but even then, it was rare, with each family being lucky to have one. Only cultivation families like the Tang family, which was second only to the Yao family in terms of immortal realm inheritance, could boast several cultivators who had truly reached the second step. This was the foundation of the family, the result of tens of thousands of years of accumulation, and it couldn't be forced. The elder was one of the four at the second step in the Tang family, but he was also the weakest among them. Zhang Konglai, representing the Zhan family, recommends Senior Sumu for eligibility. "Elder Tang, do I have this qualification?" Zhang Konglai said after a brief silence, looking directly at the elder of the Tang family. The elder's face darkened further. "Shen Gonghu recommends Senior Sumu for eligibility." Shen Gonghu spoke briefly, his eyes filled with determination after speaking. The elder of the Tang family sneered, about to speak, but just then, a calm voice came from one of the Thunder Immortal Palace emissaries, the elderly man in purple who had kept his eyes closed the entire time. His voice was slow and steady. "Sumu is qualified." As soon as these words were spoken, the elder of the Tang family's face completely changed. He knew the identity of the elderly man in purple and didn't dare to argue. With a cold snort, he flicked his sleeve, pulling Tang Yanfeng along as he turned to leave. The Tang family members quickly flew up and followed the elder, leaving at a distance. Before leaving, the elder of the Tang family glared fiercely at Wong Lin, his gaze carrying killing intent. Wong Lin calmly looked back and spoke, "Explosion." The moment the word, "explosion," left his lips, the elder of the Tang family froze. His expression immediately changed, and as he turned, the body of Tang Yanfeng, whom he was carrying, violently shook, and with a loud explosion, it disintegrated into countless pieces of flesh and blood. Even his essence spirit shattered in the impact, giving the elder no chance to save him. Wong Lin had previously left a hidden force deep within Tang Yanfeng's body. Unless someone had cultivation higher than his, reaching the mid-glimpse of nirvana, it was impossible for anyone to detect it in such a short time. Now that the Tang family had shown murderous intent towards him, Wong Lin had no hesitation in detonating that force, completely destroying Tang Yanfeng. You Tang family, don't become the second Yo family. Wong Lin's voice was calm, yet the killing intent in it was as thick as the cold wind. Sumu. The elder of the Tang family was furious, his face showing a trace of pain. He glared at Wong Lin and rushed towards him in a single step. Wong Lin's expression remained unchanged as he raised his right hand. At that moment, a cold snort came from the purple-robed elder among the Thunder Immortal Palace emissaries. The old man opened his eyes for the first time, and icy light flashed from his gaze. No private fighting during the title contest. Tang Shan, take your Tang family and get lost. After the title contest ends, if you wish to seek revenge, you can follow the example of the Yu family and resolve it yourselves. The Tang family elder was forced to stop, and after a moment of silence, he glared at Wong Lin with deep hatred. He then turned and led the Tang family away swiftly. Do you want to be the first of the 108 qualifiers of the Southern Domain? The purple-robed elder of the Thunder Immortal Palace looked at Wong Lin, his gaze flickering before he spoke calmly. Wong Lin looked at the elder. With his current cultivation, he could vaguely sense a powerful fluctuation of primordial energy within the elder's body. While Wong Lin couldn't discern his exact cultivation level, he guessed that the elder's strength was probably not far from that of Blood God. Even if he wasn't at the pure nirvana stage, he was definitely at the peak of the late glimpse of nirvana stage. Indeed, Wong Lin spoke flatly, his voice filled with determination and rising battle intent. Good. If no one challenges you here, I'll declare you the first of the Southern Domain qualifiers. The purple-robed elder said, a hint of appreciation in his eyes. Is there anyone who challenges? The purple-robed elder swept his gaze over the many cultivators sitting on the crimson stones in the Southern Domain. His gaze finally landed on one person. This person was dressed in black, around 40 years old, with slightly gray temples. In front of him, there were 9 knives stuck into the stone. Even when Wong Lin's battle intent pressed against him earlier, he had shown no reaction, continuing to meditate in silence. Only after Wong Lin revealed his early glimpse of nirvana cultivation did he raise his head, a barely perceptible battle intent flashing in his eyes. Zhang Konglai challenges Senior Sumu. A sudden voice rang out, and Zhang Konglai took a deep breath. His eyes showed a mix of complexity and confusion, yet there was also battle intent in them. He cupped his fist respectfully towards Wong Lin and spoke. If Senior Sumu convinces me, Zhang Konglai is willing to offer Dao Concept and respect Senior as the Supreme Lord of the War Alliance. As soon as these words were spoken, a tremendous storm surged across the entire region, creating waves that reached the sky.